The roar of the artillery fire echoed across Xalfar's scorched surface, rattling the remnants of twisted metal and shattered stone. A violent thunderstorm churned in the sky above, dark clouds swirling with electric fury, crackling like a live wire. The planet was a death trap, its atmosphere thick with poisonous gases, and the ground was constantly quaking with aftershocks from the constant bombardments. Any other species would have been huddled in shelters, hiding from the hellish conditions. Yet, amid the chaos and violence, Sergeant Jason Hawk Malone lay in a crater, sprawled flat on his back, eyes closed, breathing steady as if he were napping in a suburban park on a lazy afternoon. The Qatar forces, their heavy exoskeletons clanging like metal armor as they marched, paused as they neared Hawk's position. A squad of 6 elite Qatar soldiers, clad in dark battle armor, carefully approached the human. The soldiers whispered in low, clicking tones, their antennae twitching in confusion. None of them had ever seen anything like this before. One of the Qatar soldiers, a hulking brute named Serath, stepped forward and lowered his plasma rifle, aiming directly at Hawk's chest. "What is this? Is he dead?" Serath hissed, his voice like grinding stone. The others shifted uncomfortably, unsure of what to do. To them, Hawk should have been a broken, shattered corpse by now. No one survived on Xalfar without proper protection, not even the Qatar. But Hawk simply slept. The winds howled, kicking up the remnants of a nearby explosion. The noise was deafening, and yet Hawk didn't stir, not even a flinch. As the squad waited, still uncertain of the human status, a single bolt of lightning cracked the sky open, casting an eerie blue light over the battlefield. Hawk's chest rose and fell, calm, steady. Finally, Serath growled in frustration. "He's either the bravest or the most foolish creature we've ever encountered," he muttered. "No matter. Let's finish this." But as the Qatar squad closed in, Hawk's eyes flicked open, a glint of sharp awareness behind them. A small smile tugged at his lips, and he exhaled slowly. "This would be interesting. Let me know if you want me to expand or adjust anything." The Vornath scout team, a cadre of 5 specialized soldiers, moved with practiced precision through the dense underbrush of Xalfar. Their cloaking technology rendered them invisible to the naked eye, and the harsh environment was nothing compared to the dangers of their homeworld. However, there was something about this planet, something primal, that made even the Vornath uneasy. They had been tasked with investigating the rumors of the Deathworlder, the human who supposedly slept through an active war zone. Their mission was simple: gather intel, eliminate if necessary. Captain Alina Dreg, leader of the Vornath squad, led the way. She was tall and lean, her violet skin shimmering faintly under the cloak's active camouflage. A veteran of countless skirmishes, she prided herself on her ability to remain calm, even in the most dangerous situations. But when they reached the site of the human's supposed camp, she felt the first stirrings of doubt. The area was littered with the wreckage of Qatar mechs, their hulking frames twisted and scorched, a testament to the intensity of the recent battle. Yet, nestled in the center of it all, under the shadow of a fallen battle turret, was Hawk. The human was, unmistakably, asleep, completely at ease, sprawled out in the center of the wreckage. His face was peaceful, his breathing slow and regular. It was as if he were in the quietest corner of the galaxy, not in the heart of a brutal, ongoing war. Dreg signaled for her team to halt. "Is this a trap?" whispered one of her soldiers, a young Vornath named Trelon, his voice tinged with fear. He was new to this kind of work, and had never encountered anything like this before. "I don't know," Dreg replied, narrowing her eyes. "But if this human can sleep through all of this, then we need to find out why." She nodded to her second-in-command, Tyros, to move forward, his sleek form melting into the shadows. With a fluid motion, Tyros knelt beside Hawk, examining the man up close. The human didn't react, not even a twitch. "Should we wake him?" Trelon asked, his voice hesitant. Dreg hesitated, studying the motionless figure. Something felt wrong. Too wrong. No. We wait. But inside, a knot of unease tightened in her chest. Let me know if you want further adjustments. The air was thick with tension as the Vornath squad circled Hawk's sleeping form, their cloaked figures blending seamlessly into the devastated landscape. Despite the calm demeanor of their leader, Captain Drake, the rest of the team couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into something far beyond their understanding. Hawk's complete indifference to the raging battle around him was unnatural, unnerving, even. Approach with caution, Drake whispered, her voice barely audible. We don't know if he's playing some kind of psychological game. Tyros, the team's stealth specialist, crouched beside the human without a sound, his movements as fluid as a shadow. He knelt down, a sensor pad in hand, checking for any signs of traps or hidden technology. But Hawk remained still, his chest rising and falling with a slow, steady rhythm. No weapons were visible, and nothing in his surroundings indicated any kind of danger. Nothing, Tyros muttered, tapping his earpiece. He's unarmed. No tech, no traps. Just resting. Dreg frowned, her antennae twitching in thought. This is wrong. Just as she was about to give the order to back away, Hawk's eyes snapped open. The suddenness of it startled Dreg, but she quickly regained her composure. Hawk didn't flinch, didn't even show the slightest bit of alarm. He simply blinked slowly, taking in the alien figures surrounding him, then locked eyes with Dreg. Well, he said, his voice low and gravelly from sleep, I was wondering when you guys would show up. Dreg froze. The way he spoke, so casually, as if he had all the time in the galaxy, sent a shiver down her spine. Was this human insane? Or was he so confident in his survival skills that he didn't fear death at all? You're the Deathworlder, Dreg said, her voice betraying a hint of awe. You sleep through this. Hawk gave a half smile, unbothered by the plasma rifles aimed at him. Yeah, pretty much. You guys need a nap, or is this a business meeting? For a moment, there was complete silence as the Vornath squad processed his words. None of them moved, each of them uncertain of what to do next. Hawk, however, seemed perfectly at ease. You don't understand, Dreg said, shaking her head, as if trying to convince herself more than him. You shouldn't be alive. This world kills everything. You're just a human. Hawk stretched, groaning as his muscles woke up. Human, huh? That's what you call us. Well, here's the thing, on my planet, we've got a saying. It's not about surviving. It's about how you survive. Without another word, he stood up and casually brushed the dirt from his fatigues, all the while never breaking eye contact with Drake. The squad, once certain of their advantage, now stood on the edge of uncertainty. Are we going to do this or not? Hawk asked, tilting his head slightly. Because I'm not exactly in the mood for a long conversation. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments or further elaboration. The tension hung heavy in the air. Dreg's squad remained frozen, their weapons still trained on Hawk, unsure of how to proceed. The human's calm, almost bored demeanor only deepened the sense of unease. They had expected a fight, or at least some sign of panic. But all they saw was a man who looked completely at home amidst the wreckage and chaos. Look, Dreg said, her voice losing some of its edge. We didn't come here to waste time. If you're not going to fight, then what are you doing here? Hawk's smile remained, but his eyes darkened slightly. I'm here for the same reason you are. To survive. Simple as that. The way he said it struck a chord with Dreg. Survive. That was all. All the bloodshed, the devastation, the countless lives lost, and Hawk was here just to survive. It seemed impossible. She had seen thousands of soldiers die on planets far more hospitable than this. Yet this human, this Deathworlder, hadn't just survived Axal-Far, he had thrived. You don't get it, she pressed. You don't belong here. Your species wasn't designed for a world like this. Hawk shrugged, his gaze flicking to the horizon, where a new wave of Qatar forces began to emerge, their massive forms silhouetted against the fiery skies. I wasn't designed for it either. None of us were. He gestured around the wreckage. But you learn to adapt. Either you do that, or you die. A moment of silence passed as Dreg absorbed his words. Hawk's casual confidence was unlike anything she had ever encountered. The Vornath were masters of survival. Adaptation was their specialty. But this human didn't seem to need adaptation. He didn't need to change. He just was. I've been fighting for survival my whole life. Hawk continued, his voice softening, as if speaking to himself. You all fight for control, for power, for victory. Me, I fight because if I don't, I die. That's all there is to it. And this planet, it doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your technology or your tactics. It just wants to kill you, so you keep moving. You keep going. You don't stop. Dreg blinked, trying to process the enormity of what he was saying. Her squad stood motionless, weapons lowered now, but no one dared speak. Hawk's words had hit home, rattling something deep within them. A part of her, the part that had seen countless battles, understood what he was saying. But another part of her, something she couldn't quite name, felt a rising sense of dread. Okay, human, Dreg said, her voice steady, but tinged with uncertainty. If you're so good at this, surviving, why not just leave? Get off this planet before it kills you too. Hawk turned and glanced over his shoulder, his expression unreadable. Why leave? The battle's just getting interesting. Let me know if you'd like any changes or additions. Dreg stared at Hawk, a mixture of disbelief and awe creeping across her face. Just getting interesting. Did this human truly enjoy the chaos? She had seen countless soldiers, Vornath, Qatar, Zalar, burn out after weeks in this hellscape. The harsh terrain, the constant battles, the never-ending struggle for survival. They all cracked, some quicker than others, but Hawk seemed different. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't even a mercenary. He was something else, something older. His very presence seemed to defy the rules of this war, and in doing so, it made the war feel futile. Dreg's mind raced as she took a step back. She had been trained to analyze enemies, to see beyond the obvious threats and understand what made them tick. But Hawk wasn't just an enemy. He was an enigma. She tried to shake off the unease that was slowly growing inside her, but the more she watched him, the clearer it became. The human wasn't just surviving in Stalfar. He was mastering it. Captain, we need to report this back to command, Traylon said quietly, his voice tense. This human, he's unlike anything we've ever encountered. The Qatar are one thing, the Zalar, another. But him, he swallowed. He doesn't fit any of our models. Dreg nodded slowly. She knew the importance of what they had discovered. Hawk was a disruption, and disruptions needed to be controlled. The thought of reporting him to their superiors wasn't appealing, but it was necessary. The Vornath had to understand what they were dealing with before they made any more moves. Agreed, she said, voice steady. But we're not leaving yet. I need to know how he survives here. What makes him so different? She turned back to Hawk, who was casually leaning against a wrecked Qatar vehicle, a distant look in his eyes, as if he were simply waiting for the next storm to roll in. Tell me, human, she called, how do you survive here? How do you beat this planet? Hawk's gaze slowly shifted to meet hers, his lips curled into a half-smile. Simple, he said, eyes twinkling with something like amusement. I don't try to beat it. I just live through it. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments or further development. The Vornath, Qatar, and Zeller forces began to mobilize. For the first time in the war, the three factions moved with synchronized precision, their pride set aside as they focused on the common goal, eliminating the human who had become a symbol of their collective failure. Every division, every commander, and every available asset was deployed to Xalfar as the Alliance tightened its grip around the planet. They had one mission, to crush Hawk once and for all. Dreg stood in the command center of the Vornath flagship, overlooking the battlefield through a translucent window that revealed the tumult of war below. Hundreds of Katarlanders and Vornath strike ships were streaking across the sky, their targets already locked in. The Zellar had dispatched their best infiltrators to set up ambushes, while the Katar prepared their heaviest artillery, ready to flatten entire sectors. It was an overwhelming force, one designed to leave no room for escape. Yet even as she studied the holographic map of Hawk's last known location, a part of Dreg couldn't shake the unsettling feeling in her gut. She had been part of many campaigns, but this was different. They weren't just fighting an enemy. They were hunting something that refused to die. And that made all the difference. Hawk will be cornered this time, she said aloud, more to herself than to anyone in the room. The words felt almost hollow, as if the universe itself was mocking her certainty. "We have him now, Captain," Trellon said from behind her, his voice a mix of both tension and hope. "The human has nowhere left to hide." Dreg nodded, though the flicker of doubt remained in her mind. They had done everything right this time. No loose ends, no errors in planning. Hawk wouldn't survive this. He couldn't. But as the countdown to the final assault began, she couldn't escape the nagging question. What if this time he chooses to survive, no matter what we throw at him? Let me know if you need further adjustments or additions. The ground shook as the first wave of artillery fire slammed into the landscape of Zalfar, kicking up plumes of smoke and dust that choked the air. The combined might of the Katar, Vornath, and Zellar had descended upon Hawk's last known position like a storm, and the planet trembled under their assault. It was a methodical destruction. Every inch of the battlefield was being bombarded, each weapon calibrated to ensure no stone remained unturned. Dreg watched from the command center, her sharp eyes tracking the progress of the bombardment on a live feed. Every strike was designed to annihilate Hawk's position. There would be no hiding in the rubble, no way to escape this kind of force. For once, the odds were finally in their favor. "It's over," Trellon muttered, his voice filled with the kind of grim satisfaction that came from knowing the job was nearly done. The humans done for. No one survives this much firepower. Dreg didn't respond immediately. Her gaze remained fixed on the holographic map, where the human's position had been marked in red, surrounded by concentric circles of impending destruction. It was as perfect as a plan could be. Flawless, in fact. Yet, a sinking feeling settled deep in her chest. She had seen Hawk fight. She had seen him adapt and survive under circumstances that would have killed even the most battle-hardened soldiers. But this was different. The sheer magnitude of the assault, the unity of the alien forces, had to be enough to finish him off. "Sir," said a subordinate, interrupting her thoughts. "We've received a report from the forward scouts. They spotted him." Dreg's eyes snapped up. "Where?" A tense silence hung in the room before the scout's voice came over the comms. "He's walking toward us." Dreg's breath caught in her throat. The feed blinked to life, showing a figure standing tall amidst the wreckage. Hawk. He was walking, seemingly untouched, his movements deliberate and calm. The destruction around him was catastrophic, yet he strolled through the chaos as if it were nothing more than an afternoon stroll. His eyes were focused, his posture unbroken. "Impossible," Dreg whispered, her heart racing. "How?" A voice, cold and calm, crackled through the comm. "Hawks, you should have known better than to think you could break me." And then the battle began. Let me know if you want me to refine or expand on any part. The battlefield had become a chaotic hellscape, the air thick with the acrid scent of burning metal and scorched earth. Every weapon in the alien arsenal had been unleashed in a concentrated wave, but none had even touched the human. Hawk's figure stood against the onslaught, an eerie calm settling over him as the explosions rang out all around. Dreg watched in disbelief as the holographic map updated in real time, showing Hawk's every move, each step forward marked by the obliteration of another Katar mech, another Vornath strike ship, Another Zeller ambush. The human was a force of nature, unfazed by the death that surrounded him, as if the planet itself had somehow bent to his will. He moved with a fluidity that shouldn't have been possible, dodging incoming fire, outrunning explosions, and even turning the enemy's tactics against them. The alien alliance, despite their overwhelming numbers and superior technology, had underestimated one crucial thing: Hawk's adaptability. Where others had fallen, he simply evolved. Every encounter was a lesson, every failure a springboard for something better. As Dreg watched the spectacle unfold before her, a realization dawned upon her with a quiet shock. Hawk wasn't just surviving Salfar. He was becoming one with it. The chaos of the planet, the violence, the unpredictable nature of it all. It wasn't an obstacle for him. It was his element. He had turned the deadly terrain into his ally, mastering it in ways no one could have predicted. But the battle was far from over. Hawk's next move was swift. With a roar that shook the ground beneath him, he launched a wave of explosives scavenged from the wreckage, sending a massive shockwave through the ranks of the alien forces. The car stumbled, disoriented, while the Vornath found their lines disrupted. A Zeller scout, trying to flank him, was cut down by a well-timed counterattack. In that moment, everything began to unravel. Dreg's comms buzzed, but the voice that came through was unexpected. "We've lost," the Qatar Supreme Commander said, his voice filled with disbelief. "He's unstoppable. We cannot, will not, win this." Dreg felt her heart sink. She had known it was coming, but hearing the words made it undeniable. Hawk had won. Standing amidst the chaos, Hawk looked toward the shattered forces and spoke one final time, his voice carrying over the battlefield. "Maybe you should have tried living like me, instead of trying to conquer." With that, the human walked away, untouched, as the alien forces crumbled behind him. Let me know if you'd like any further adjustments or elaborations.